Okay, so my indoors have been over. I haven't been able to make videos the last couple of days, including the portfolio update, which is my favorite, and I believe your favorite. So I'm gonna do one midweek. Okay, it's just Tuesday, but it is what it is. And I think there's a lot of updates to make, lots of comments, especially on specific miners. But I'll start off as usual, looking at the dollar. So, I mean, the recent rally really has been the fact that the rate hikes have been put on pause, and with that, the dollar's come down. So for me, 102.5 was okay, it was support. We bounced from there. And the last thing I was really saying was I didn't know where exactly, but 104 to 104.5 should be resistance, because that's where we flushed to 102.5 from, So all the way down here, we flushed and we bounced. And indeed, that was resistance. It was really between those two marks, 104, 104.5. So what have we done? In 2 days, we went straight through 102.5 and we actually hit the next support, which is 102, which I had there the whole time. We've bounced from there and now it's perfect technicals. We bounced from 102 to 102.5 and now we're hanging around there. So prior support should be resistance. I mean, we could hang around there, we could go a little higher, but I think we're going to come back down to 102. And if we do, we're more likely to go even lower, right? The trend is your friend. Unless we really close and break out, close above this downtrend line, I don't see us revisiting. And the next resistance will be the old resistance, so 104 to 104.5. So I'll leave this one here, just move it there. So really, that's resistance. I mean, you got two resistance, this downtrend line and this one here. I think we're just going to go sideways and go lower. And then if we do go lower, and if we close below 102, then we should go down to the old 100.8 or 101 level, the all famous one. That was something I was talking about for a long time during this period. And as soon as we flushed above it, it was a head fake and back up we went with the rate hike. So let's see, this is obviously all rate hike related. The only thing about the dollar is that we can look at interest rates, and let's just look at the 30, it's easier to read. It's come down a lot and it's probably due for a small bounce. And usually when rates go up, the dollar goes up. So I'm just weary of that, What if yields just bounce? I mean, they're not going to start rising too much too fast, because I think inflation will come back and rates will go back up. But I don't think we're due for that immediately. But I do think we're due for a small bounce. I mean, look, at least a bounce to old support, So I'm just wondering if this happens, and I think it should happen. Just a small bounce, and then we can go back down again. The dollar should go back up with it, just for 1 or 2 days, back up, maybe ascending, becomes resistance here for the 30-year. Otherwise, just a simple horizontal retest. So what happens when there's a small bounce? Will the dollar maybe just go back up here and then again descending becomes resistance and then back down we go. So that's what I mean. The dollar could go up a little higher, but I still think the trend is down, and as it settles lower, what happens to gold? Let's go to gold anyway, because this is about the portfolio update. Gold's been doing okay, nice move up here back to 2040. You could see why I had resistance before there. It was the tails, and it's kind of still been 2040. We visited almost 2050. So I don't know, 2050, 2040, it's the same thing. And now we're hanging sideways. You can tell though that if the dollar, well, I don't know if you can tell, but in my opinion, if the dollar and yields go up, you could have gold just come back down again to 2000. I don't see 2000 as support technically. It's just psychologically it could, bounce at 2000. I could see that. But obviously support is 1980, let's say, or just below. So I'm just going to add that line because let's be honest, we've had days where I haven't mentioned support and then it visits it. So, I mean, that's your support, but you could have a little visit of 2000 and, it bounces and closes at 2010, 2015. So I'm just thinking about small downside in case there's a little pop in yields in the dollar. Okay, that's gold. Let's look at silver very quickly. And actually, I should visit the resistance. Oops, not futures. So all right. So silver, yeah, I mean this support down here is quite far, but we've seen silver drop quite a lot when gold just dips a little bit. Is there psychological resistance? No, there isn't. You know what? Silver will just find its support as soon as gold hits its support. Resistance on the way up, not too far away, 24 point, let's say 24.2-ish, roughly there, especially a close above it. Then we start going all the way back up to the old 25 and maybe even 26 numbers. So, but you know, lately I just feel like you got to watch gold because silver will just follow gold. Let's just look at resistance on gold. 2040, 2050, and then really it's straight back up to, and I still think 2070/2080 is resistance because these two, I mean, this one day we just screamed higher. It's all about the open and the close on the daily. And, you know, we opened and closed those 2 days below 2080. So I still think this old resistance remains. And obviously, if we start closing above 20, let's say 80, just to be really sure, then we can look at this one up here. I mean, this one's so obvious you don't even need to put it in, but I'll do it anyway. So that's gold and silver, simple levels. Let's just say you got to watch gold, and let's just say that's 1975 on the way down. Obviously, 2000, a small pit stop, psychological support. On the way up, 2040 really is resistance, but a close above 2050, and you're destined for the 2075, 2080 range. All right, let's look at the miners, and I start off with the GDXJ. It's nice, right? Nice pop. We're not allowed to start closing above. Okay, first of all, $40, right? $40 is a big number. Also, I mean, you could say it's 39.50, but why not 40? If you're visiting 39.50 and it's all about a close above 39.50, you might as well call it 40. And I can imagine if we start to curl and go back up, again, you kind of need the dollar to be a bit subdued, interest rates to not really be rising too much. But if you do start to move back up, gold visiting 2040, 2050, you could see the GDXJ. And look at this level here, these two tails up here, 38.80, let's say, 38.80, a little close above 38.80 is just as good. And then the next day, you just bang straight out. On the way down, support. I mean, this was supposed to be support because it was resistance, but we did, you know, the last video I did, I said, look, we touched this perfectly here. And then I was saying, oh, the miners are outperforming the metal on the way down. And they were, you know, gold had come down a lot more, 1975, whilst we were just over here. And the next day, actually, it went against me because the miners underperformed the metal by quite a bit. Like gold was flattish and the miners were down 2.5%. But then, and my in-laws were over, so I couldn't make a video to admit a daily defeat there, but then the next day, bam, huge move up, and then it was back to outperformance. So, but I do have to admit that one day there, I was a bit surprised by it. The miners really made up for their outperformance with one big underperforming day. But there you go, next days, and to be honest, recently it's still outperforming. I would say overall, this whole period, the miners have been outperforming, and that's pretty reassuring. So now let's see, right? Let's just see what gold does. Also the markets, the miners, they're starting to, for a while now, they've been following the markets quite a bit. So on the way up, big resistance. It's really 39.50, but I prefer 40. It's a big round number. And then you've clearly cleared all prior resistance. On the way down, I mean, I don't know how much of a support line this will be here, but otherwise all the way back down here. To be honest, you're hitting ascending support anyway. So yeah, that's GDXJ. GDX, very similar. Look at this, the underperforming day versus the metal, and then followed by a huge move up. Resistance remains in place. You can see it's basically 32, isn't it? It's 32. Yeah, it's perfectly 32. Little gap. We closed the gap on what was that, on Friday? Yeah, that was on Friday, and then a little continuation here. It looks okay though, you know, it's like a small retracement, and now we're due for a curl. Let's have that bounce now, and in 1 or 2 days we could just clear 32, close above 32 in GDX, and you can start moving. And by the way, I don't see this as a resistance. You're not going to close above 32 and just stop here. I mean, if you do, you're just going to go back up. So it's really 32 and 36 for GDX. Let's get rid of this line. I just don't see that much. 32 and then bam, continuation. And by the way, GDXJ, what do you have there? You close above 39.50 or 40, and you're probably going to go a bit higher, maybe all the way up here. All right, that'll do with the actual indices. Let's look at the miners. So let's look at Newmont. Where are we? Now, you know, having looked at GDX, GDXJ, well, in this case, the GDX, you can see Newmont is outperforming, right? It's just hovering. And by the way, yesterday, so Monday night, it's closed above what is still resistance 40. Well, it's actually above resistance, so it's no longer resistance. Technically, if you really zoom in, So, but you can see how it's outperforming, right? Didn't close any gap. So Newmont finally, after a lot of quite a long period of underperformance, it has been outperforming just ever so slightly and at the right time. I just feel like Newmont is, this is the perfect time to lead the charge up. So if we do have a small curl, I mean, if we don't, if the, dollar interest rates go up and the miners just go sideways down a bit, gold flushes a little bit, you're going to obviously close this gap and start visiting the lows, and it'll ruin the pattern a bit. But I still think we're, a fantastic hold long term, an easy double, depending on your risk tolerance and your time frame. But next resistance as we rise, right? Let's just imagine we rise. Will it be this descending? It should be. If we go a little high, we may find small resistance here because that should be resistance, really, just small resistance here. But I think as long as we close above this descending, and I think that's quite easy if there's a little bit of momentum because it wants to go up. You can tell how it's outperforming. Up here, small resistance on these two lines. And then honestly, once we start to rise higher, this should be resistance, but I don't think it will do much at all because once we've cleared all of this here, we're not just going to stop off here, are we? So actually, I feel like removing it. I think you take this out, you're going to rise all the way up to probably there just because of the number 50. That should be resistance there just for the number, but I don't think it'll be too much. You could come down 1 or 2 points, 50 to 48, and then curl and then just keep going. But once we clear this little area here, it should be coiled for a spring up, at least 50, if not higher. This should be the biggest resistance on the way up, just because it's like the last zone of resistance. It's the highest we went in a long, long time, basically, the whole year, 2023. And then after that, you're really, in my opinion, going all the way up into the mid 60s. So for me, what comes next now in the next couple of days is very significant for Newmont, which has been outperforming. So watch the descending line. I think that'll be easy because it's so close and we've done so well. We've outperformed so much that it shouldn't normally, if we were far away, it would be very strong resistance. But because it's so close, it might not be. But it theoretically should be. After that, this should be pretty weak, but it should still be in effect. And this one, just because of the strategic importance of a breakout here, this actually might be irrelevant. But Newmont looks very good. Support, by the way, because I want to make sure I cover support sometimes, gap fill number 1. But if we have a bit of a strong flush, that'll happen quickly in a couple of hours. Otherwise, the absolute low down here, which should be, gold 1975. And then after that, well, the trend is somewhat broken for a while, but then you got the double bottom all the way down here, 34. Okay, that's Newmont. Let's look at Barrick Gold, which has also been outperforming the GDX. Maybe I'm just lucky with what I'm holding, or maybe yesterday was a good day. It's, only 1% move, but it's these small differences that can make a large impact. Look at this. First of all, close to a high of day. Definitely outperform the GDX, which is still, which just closed the gap, let's say. I mean, it looks good. We just need a little, and it could happen today. Who knows? Definitely could happen today. A close above 18. It's a nice number, but more importantly, it will have cleared the resistance the last couple of months. That includes this tail here, obviously this last attempt here, and then just this area. But so today, a close above 18, and we should first of all fill this gap, but probably go higher. I would normally say this area, not just because of this gap. This gap is irrelevant, it's closed here, but just this period here of support. So maybe something like here could be resistance, like 1880-ish, just below. But honestly, if we have a move, I mean, Newmont and Barrick Gold and Agnico, which I'll get to, they make a large chunk of the GDX. And if they start to break out here, they could start to help each other onto a bigger move. And if there's a big move, and if gold is moving up to old highs, historic highs, we could have the continuation of the catch up of the miners, and we could just see a much bigger move. And by that, I mean 20. Who cares about this tiny gap fill of 1.5% or whatever, how much it was? So I think we could move all the way up to 20, and we could see something slightly dramatic. And remember, zoom out, we've got a lot of catching up to do. A lot of catching up to do. So yeah, gap fill is nice, but I'm looking for more, and I'm not looking for some tiny old support zone. I really want that 20 now. And this is what the setup would look like for such a move. So let's close above resistance 18 and let's head for 20. If we come back down, there's no gap fill, but let's just say ascending support. So imagine it just fails immediately, probably around 16.5-ish. Should see a nice bounce. Agnico-Eagle, another one which is okay. This one's slightly outperforming GDX. It's closed its gap, kind of. You can see that tail yesterday, Monday, and then it closed at a high day. Very nice. Let's just close above 55. It'd be the best close in months. It's very close. It's a nice number. And we've definitely cleared this resistance here. And then let's close above this area here, 56 actually. That was the old high it made there. But 55 would probably do it. Is this resistance, this descending line? Yeah, kind of. Right. I might be off by a few millimeters, but that should be a little bit of resistance. If it's not, it should be. But if it's not, we close above it, then this horizontal 60, huge number. Definitely resistance here, definitely resistance here. So I think this horizontal could actually be stronger than this descending, especially because, again, this one's very close. A bit like Newmont, it's just very close. Once you have a bit of a move, you can't really expect this to do too much because it's just getting started. So I think 55 really is what you want to close above. And then after that, you want to look for 60. So I'm looking for that next level of a move, but like Barrick Gold going to 20. I'm not looking for these smaller gap fills. I think we may have a bigger move already here. So I'm kind of looking for the next bigger one, right? In my case here, Agnico-Eagle, I think it's 60. Okay. Oh, and by the way, if we drop, I'd follow gold for this one, but I would say this is not a level. This is an old level. I would just say the ascending actually. So if we come back down, roughly this area. So let's say 51, 51, because it was used to be resistance. That's why it's there. But also by the time it gets there, the ascending is creeping up a bit. So something like this. Yeah, 51. Okay, Pan American Silver. This one is following GDX a bit more. And that's because maybe we've just been going down a little bit ever so slightly the last 2 days and last 2-3 days. And silver, which is really what this company is following, is weaker than gold on the drops. So resistance. Okay, let's clear this up a little bit. Well, it's hard to tell this one. Is the descending going to act as any support? No, we've gone through that already and it didn't really work actually. I would say support will be the old low down here. So if we get gap fills, we've done that already on Friday. I mean, that would require a pretty decent move down. But okay, 14, let's say 1440-ish on Pan American Silver, which is a hell of a buy. And that's it. If it keeps going, then the old low down here, let's just call that 1320-ish. But okay, 1440 on the way up, it's the same resistance. We can move it up now and be a bit more precise. And that is 1620. Let's close above 1620. Then the next resistance is 17. But to be honest, if we're closing above 1620, there's something going on. And this is so close that this might not be resistance, hopefully, because a close above this, even if it's not resistance, well, especially if it's not resistance. So a 17 close, and you're really due for a bit of a move, a bit like we saw in Agnico, First Majestic, and a few of the silver ones that we'll go to. We will visit that soon. But yeah, close above 17 in particular, and you are going to encounter very, very important downtrend line here. And it will be very close at that point too. It'll probably coincide quite well with 18.5. This whole area here, I mean, we need to see it happen first, but it gets very important very quickly. So for me, I'll just say 1440, 1320-ish. But on the way up, very, very exciting stuff. So 1620, 17, and then depends how long it takes, but I'm not sure how much resistance we would meet here on this descending because it would be so close, but it would be so important. And it depends what's going on in the sector. Hopefully it just doesn't care and goes straight through. And then we've got a bit of a squeeze because look, this is a very, very senior, I think, well-run, sound company, and this has all the reasons to really squeeze to 20. So let's just clear 17, let's clear 16, 20, and then 17, and then we can start getting excited about this descending and how much resistance we meet then. And if we don't and we close above it, honestly, we might not even care about this 1850 zone. We may go straight to 20, a bit like the others. Okay, Wheaton, the one that I said I'd sell because it's time to make more elsewhere, but I'm selling in tiny chunks. To be honest, the moves haven't been too strong. I sold a little bit on this last pop-up here. I should have sold more, but I just thought, because I bought other miners with the money I'm going to make by selling Wheaton. So the proceeds of Wheaton, first I buy, then I sell, because I expect us to go up. Well, I did my buying, but I'm not selling Wheaton. So Wheaton, I need to sell on this anticipated move up. And I just haven't done it yet. It's not the best risk management because if we start to flush, I would have preferred to sell Wheaton, even though it usually doesn't go down too much. That's the good thing about Wheaton. It's very defensive. It'll go down 2% whilst the others go down 5%. But it could work out extra well for me if we start to move up now, because then I can sell it later in even more profit. Okay, so Wheaton has closed its little gap here. Funny enough, it's not as strong as the others, but I don't care. It's small percentage moves. If we start to come and go up, first thing to do is, well, really close above 50. It's a big round number, and then you've cleared all its resistance, that's for sure. But honestly, it would probably be enough if it closed above 49. I would say 50. But whatever, it's just like very little difference. A close above 50, and we go straight to here. I don't think we're going to do tiny pit stops anywhere at 51. I think we'll go even 52. I think we will go straight to 52.5. And this slightly ascending slope here is because of, I don't know if it's this one here or it's this one here. I know this one works. Look, you can see it hits each time. So, but it doesn't matter. Just to be safe, you can do it horizontally on the last resistance, which is really 52.5. So for me, I will probably liquidate at 52.5 the remaining half of my position, because first of all, I won't do 100% because it's probably ready to do a big move like all the others. But just for risk management, I need to take some off. I need to really liquidate the position because I've put probably more than it's worth in the others. But yeah, 52.5 is the first area, so therefore I would sell at 52.49 or 48 to make sure I get the sell in. And if it keeps going, next is probably all-time absolute highs. I'm not going to wait for this sloping thing, which would be 50, well, whatever it is here, let's say 57 just to be sure. So 56.99 probably, because I think it could easily clear 57. So that's it. There's not really much resistance for Wheaton because it's just been very, very strong. Now on the way down, the sloping ascending, I'd probably wait for it to bounce there and then liquidate after the small bounce just to be safe. But the sloping ascending, if it keeps going, then the old highs of 46, which coincides with resistance, prior resistance, this line here, it did that perfectly. So sloping ascending support, and then the horizontal, and then, okay, obviously big trend break. So, all right, Franco Nevada, my new senior, which has done okay. Actually, it's done very well, what I'm talking about. I was buying it here, 106, 107s. Then the next day, it did this move, and I wanted to add, but I'd already added quite a lot here. And then, that was the day where the underperformance of the miners took me by a slight surprise, but the next day it just made up for it and some. And then up we go. Look, yesterday though, Monday, we closed at low of day. So it's not as strong as the others, but this is very small stuff, minus 0.5%, up 0.5%, but still just a little annoying because it's really been smashed in the face and it's on support. Well, it was, and then it flushed below it. I just didn't expect it to close at low of the day, but there may be a gap close. Maybe that's what it wants to do. So even today, especially if we're slightly red, it will definitely close the gap. So that could be very, very mini support. Otherwise, if we keep going, I actually feel like 106 should be support, because besides this one day here, it's been support for a long time, and it is support because of this. So I'm gonna keep this support here. So gap close at 109. Then 106, and then the old low of 102. I'm going to add that because that was the low. So those two levels after the gap close. But I don't see it going all the way down there. I think it's really been oversold, and it's a very good stock. And by the way, I was listening to Rick Rule, who I remember loves Franco Nevada. In one of his many interviews he's done the last couple of days, and he may have done another interview I didn't hear, and he probably mentioned it again. But Franco Nevada, I think, is his #1 pick at the moment. And actually, he mentions a lot of my picks, and that's very reassuring. To be honest, my picks are because of him also. People like him anyway. But I think he mentioned the reason Franco Nevada went down so much is because of some Panamanian operation that is at risk. But the amount it's gone down is not justified for the amount of the operation that is at risk creates. It's like, I think it's 25% of its operations, but it's gone down 40%. So overall, it's a buy. Anyway, I'm just buying on technical reasons. So on the way down, we've covered that. And if we keep going lower, by the way, we will probably hit, I don't even see 100 as support. We'll probably hit 96. You can see that here, this sort of support zone. And it coincides with this ascending support. So if we go low, I'd expect this area, I could be wrong by a few points, 96 or 92, but this zone here, this ascending zone, and there's no way that we don't find support here and that we keep going down to the March lows. But I don't know why I'm talking about those levels. That's ridiculous. On the way up, first of all, the old high. So let's just say 113. And then probably this zone, look at this support, and then we flush it. So I'm just thinking about this. I mean, I'm going to hold Franco Nevada for a long time. I'm telling you that right now. I won't be sending into this, but, for those that really like to swing trade more regularly, look at this, and then we flush that and keep going low. So maybe old support becomes resistance. That's good. Descending. Well, anyway, once we close above 113, that's negated. So that will be a total breakout of this descending above that. And then to be honest, maybe this zone here, I need to make an average of the two. Just because it was resistance here, and also it's kind of support there. It's not straight. And then we visit all the way this area. Those are the levels I'm gonna put for now. I think that makes sense. What about this one here? Mini support, no, but it didn't work on the way down. Okay, those are my top 6. Wow, it's 6 now. 6 seniors. Okay, Franco Nevada is pretty much worth the same as Wheaton at this point, but it doesn't equal the same as these top 4. These are very strong. Okay, let me go to my little silver, what I call the aggressive silver medium tiers. I'll start off with first Majestic. Okay, so this one here has filled the gap, like quite a few of them. Closed kind of near low of day, not the strongest the last 1 or 2 days, but still in breakout mode. Remember where we are. Look at this huge move. Bought this, very happy, kept going, nice bounce, up we go. Now resistance, we'll keep it simple. I think 6.5-ish is, no, actually it's here. It's still here. If we move up, there's only one resistance, and that's, 6.5. It's the old high over here. If we close above 6.5, we go to the next one, which is 7. I don't think I need to reinvent something that's correct already. So 6.5, then 7. If we keep going, it's probably this high. Call it 8. Big, nice number. And then if we're closing above 8, we're not going to care about 8.4. We're probably in an extreme move up kind of mode. Maybe pit stop at 9, and then ultimately the absolute high just below 10. Okay, so those are the levels on the way up. On the way down, I feel like leaving this in just because of how important it was, so I can remember. I'll leave these in. It kind of ruins the eyesight a little bit, but on the way down, I would just say 5.5 because we're going to retest descending breakout, but we're so close to the old look. I'm going to just say 5.5. Yeah, that makes sense. And if we break that, then it's the old lows, and that's where these lines come back in. Okay, so those are all the levels on First Majestic. Keep it quick and simple. Next one is Fortuna. Let's look at Fortuna. So Fortuna, yeah, resistance is 4.5, let's say. After that, 420. These are very close. So close above 4.5. And you could really go to uncharted territories, which would take us to 4.6. Yeah, that'll definitely be resistance. And then a small gap fill, but we won't care about that. Probably all the way up to 5.5. But there's probably something going on for a big move to like that. And then you can get really excited about 8. So let's just clear that 4.05 and 420 on the way down. It'll be the old support. That's 3.5-ish. And if we take that out, then it's probably going to coincide with a move here. The descending breakout zone, 3.2, 3.2, 3.2, 3.3 here. If we lose 3.5, and then we'll see that's a massive breakdown, let's say. Okay, that's Fortuna. The next one will be EXK, which is my least favorite. Look at that. This descending is, it can't even break out of this descending. Okay, support is 1.9. It's horrible, absolutely horrible. Then 1.83. Then, Jesus, then it's the kind of COVID lows of 1.3. Okay, we're not going to talk about that. It's just depressing. Let's just say 1.9, 1.8 on the way down. It should be decent support. I mean, it's just, yeah, on the way up, or actually this descending. So let's just clear 2.15. Then we can actually go to 230. And then we'll see maybe a move up to the 270. This one here, yeah, it's already there. Yeah, all the lines here I agree with. Nothing to change or adjust. Hate this stock at the moment. I think everyone who owns it hates it. All right, Kertaglen, probably my favorite. But yesterday was not nice. But still, okay, so just huge move, ridiculous outperforming. Look at this. Days where the miners were red, it was green. It was just ridiculous. Went all the way up. I mean, gapped up from resistance. Amazing. And then it just sort of stalled out here. Was it these two? Maybe. That was nice, but just beautiful. Okay, it was allowed to do what it did yesterday. It didn't even fill its gap, but it still had a pretty bad day. It was like down 4%, but at one point it's almost 6. But look, it closed above prior resistance. So support now is actually 3 point, well, this line I kind of guessed correctly, 3 point, just below 3.4. So there's your support. I am really surprised it's finding support up here. If it goes lower, then it will probably become 310 between. It's hard to tell actually where support will be. It'll probably be around 2.9. But anyway, okay, let's just cover the way down. On the way, first of all, it's at support now. So 3.4 is the first level of support. If it goes lower, then between 3.10 and 2.8, that's a large area of support, but really 2.8 should be for sure. If we have a very bad day in the metals and the miners, 2.8, you should be buying that. If it goes lower than that, then it's going to be the old 2.4, but that's a huge move down. So let's just keep it simple, 3.4 and then 2.8. I don't see it going below 2.8. On the way up, but it's going to be old high of 365. Let's do that. But that's probably irrelevant. That's just because it ran out of steam because of the sector and the underlying metal. But if we close above 3.65, I don't see any resistance. In fact, ever since 3.4, I don't see any resistance, real resistance until not even 4 until this range, 4.3, really. Beautiful stock to own on the way up. I mean, hundreds of percentage moves. Look, from $2, we're pretty much at 100% if we just make a new high. So yeah, it's still my favorite stock despite yesterday. That'll do for now. Let's just not get ahead of ourselves. That's CDE. Discovery Silver. This is another one which, a bit like CDE, can make monster moves, but it has not been as strong. Is the descending still a backtest relevant line? Not anymore. Okay. Support. This used to be support. No. Okay, support because of what's happened lately. let's keep it simple. The old low of 50, big nice number, so 50 cents. If we close below that, then yeah, 45 cents and 40 cents. Simple stuff. I don't need to put those lines in. They're just very obvious to me, and it's pretty much the same thing. And there's probably something very bad going on where those lines don't matter too much. So I'm going to say 50 cents and then 40 to 45. On the way up, on the way up, we already have it, 70. We need to close above 70 cents. There's no point in playing around here with mini closes above last daily highs and all this. 70 cents, 50 cents, 40 cents. That's it. That's all you need to know. I want to close above 70. To be honest, this probably doesn't matter. This probably doesn't matter. And look what we would be doing. This descending that I removed, sometimes I keep it just to remind me how important the breakout is, you know. Look at that. I'm gonna keep it just to remind me, like, we broke out and then we back test, and once we close above 70, that's it. We're done. Like, we broke out this huge descending resistance. You know, we hit the next resistance, which happens, and then you back test, and then you close above, and that's, you know, like I said, that's it. Now you're propelling up. That's when you see some absolute catapult. That's why sometimes I leave the descending, even though it's no longer relevant. Like, we've done the back test, it's just to remind me, no, this is some part of something bigger. So I'm gonna leave it, even though I know it by heart. I'm just makes the image a bit nicer. Okay, those are my silver little aggressive rockets covered. Let's look at the more miscellaneous ones. So Aris Mining, which has been outperforming for a long time, but it stopped outperforming during this move up. A lot of the other ones started to outperform, but you know, it was really strong, higher lows constantly during this period where others were making new lows. Made a huge move up, trimmed that. That was nice. Bought back, and now I've kind of left it. Here we seem to be hanging around. I still think 310 is support because there's been support-ish between 3 and 310. It's just because of how many times I back tested here and because it was resistance. So I'm keeping this one in. It's also a good midpoint between the two channels of in this case support, and to be honest, support would be here actually, the low that it made recently, 2.9. See, normally I would leave the old line in, but I just, you know, this is going to be support, so I'll leave it there instead. And if we flush below that, we're probably going to make a bigger move lower, but I don't really know where support will be here. It doesn't matter. It'll be a buy anyway. So for me, support is 310. Very rough support. If we go lower, it'll be the old low of 2.9. If we go lower, it'll be just a general rough zone, especially this ascending helps. On the way up, actually, you know what? I can already see this extra zoomed in. Maybe this will be irrelevant. But anyway, on the way up, let's close above this descending. I mean, really, it's this one here, 3.4. You need to close above 3.4. The rest doesn't matter. Even this nice little sloping thing. I'm going to leave it 3.4. You close above that, you visit 3.6, you close above that. And it's a bit like CDEs, like clear skies for a long time. I don't see any major resistance. And if you do encounter resistance because you're tired, because of the GDX finding its own resistance or gold stalling, it'll be something like that. So that's it. Nice horizontal levels, one ascending at the bottom. Mag Silver, the ever depressing Mag Silver. I mean, this one and the XK. I mean, this one's had good news. I always refer to the good news it had a long time ago, but that's been irrelevant for some time. This was a decent pop. I thought we were gonna start to really test higher ground, like 13.5-ish, this level that for some reason I think is big resistance. I just see it still as big resistance. But look at that. It gave it all back, came all the way back down to its lows, even basically at $10. And now we have this mediocre bounce and it's stalling. It's crap, you know. I mean, it's just crap. I would have way preferred the money I have in Mag Silver to be in almost any of the other stocks. And I might just do it. That's been my plan. Eventually I'm gonna have zero holdings in Mag and I'm just gonna put the proceeds in, you know, Agnico-Eagle or First Majestic, CDE. I mean, I don't want to do it here, but it's just crap. It's been crap for a long time. Anyway, support $10 below that, and yeah, 9.6, the old lows. And then below that, honestly, if it closes below 9.6, yeah, this zone could be, it was support, but then this COVID period ruined it. I think not. If it closed below 9.6, and it could do it on any sort of a drop because it's so close to it, so weak, it just needs a massive drop, you know, $7 or something, maybe $7. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it. It just pisses me off so much. I'm not even gonna guess the low for Max Silver. Obviously, the Corona low of $4 would do it, but you know, obviously find support probably at 7. Anyway, on the way up, the old high, the mini old high here of 11.20. Let's clear that and basically let's go to 12.20. And by the time we do get to 12.20, we would be encountering this descending line finally. So maybe that's what it needs. Just one more move back up, close above this descending, and then you could finally make an actual move. That's all I'm going to say about Mag Silver. It just annoys me, actually. It really does. So Mag Silver and Wheaton, I need to liquidate both of those. And EXK, but EXK, if it moves, it could move quite a lot. So that's the only difference. All right, let's look at GLGDF. That's Gogold, one of the ones I hold that I don't love it. But I've held it for several months because of a breakout I thought that would come in the sector that didn't come. This one also just gave it all back. So this descending is irrelevant now. Okay, support is 85, 86 actually. After that, it's the old low of 77, so that's covered. If you keep going lower, then I'm not sure, but I've got this line in for obvious reasons. On the way up, no. On the way up, we're gonna have a decent move. I would say 105. You'd expect $1 to be resistance, but I don't think it is actually. 105 and then this 115. That's what I would say. And 105 just because of it's like 3 or 4 days there where it stalls at 105. And also it's quite a big move from where we are now, like 90 cents all the way to 105 is you know, it's like 15% move. So and then this 115, which by the time we get there, we'd be encountering this descending. So I'd expect big resistance there. After that, you got 130 and then clear skies. So yeah, this has good room to run if it starts to pick up some steam, but it's very weak still. After that, we will look at K92. Now, this one reminds me of Gogold, but the last couple of trading days, complete difference in pattern. Very nice pattern. Support is the old, is 5.35-ish, let's say, this zone here. After that, it's the old low of 4.65. Now, on the way up, resistance should be where it is now, $6. I will say, because of its strength, I will say it's 620. Let's close above 620. And honestly, we go straight to 670. And if we take out 670, we're taking out the descending. This one, I actually think is going to move. It's been very strong. It's had a nice close. There was 1 or 2 good reports about it the last couple of days. I just feel like it's due for a big move. And it's a very good stock, K92. I remember it from these earlier days. I always saw it just flying high, and it's been underperforming for some time. I think it deserves to be, you know, $8. So this one, let's close above 620, then 670, and then we can start talking about, you know, $8, 820. I look forward. I think K92 is going to move. Okay, Metalla. Metalla. All right, nice pop. Held it on the way down. Never closed its gap. Never. They don't always close their gaps, huh? Up it goes back to the 340 has been obvious resistance for some time, and then bam, it squeezed above it and gave it all back. And I bought it. At 330 the other day, and then it just flushed on me, and then flushed more. So I'm down from where I added for what I added. I'm down like almost 10% straight away. Very annoying, but I do have great hopes for this one. I think it's going to go back up. First of all, if we go lower, it's going to gap fill 2.9. After that, the old low of, let's say, 2.7. That would be disappointing. I still think you zoom out. This is a very good company. It's destroyed. It's going to go all the way up here. You wait 2 years, you've made 300%. But next stop, really, this used to be resistance, but because of what it's done, it no longer is. The new resistance is the old high. That will be, let's just say, all the way up here. Support is, it's so clear. I don't even want to ruin the picture, but first of all, support is old support, which is pretty much where it is. And then it's the gap fill, and then it's, you know, 2.7. So let's close above 3.6. 3.6 would do it, but 3.66, and then we go to $4. And then we'll see about that. After that, it can start rising, rising, and rising. But let's just get to 4 first. That'll do for Metalla. Now, I can't even pronounce this one. Sibanye-Stillwater, SBSW. Absolutely love it. I didn't even notice what it did yesterday. I mean, I bought quite a decent entry here. I actually added to it again because I just so believe the breakout in palladium. This is not going to be a commodities video, but let's just take a look at palladium, guys. You know, look at this, what it's done the last 2-3 days. Did you guys notice that? Absolute monster day. That was like a 10% day or something, I remember. That was a huge, 10% day in a metal. That's strange, right? So huge breakout in palladium. This, I think it's a palladium and a platinum stock. Platinum's just hasn't been as destroyed as palladium, so it's holding, it's doing average. I still think it'll go up. But palladium has been absolutely butchered, which would explain, and look at this breakout, we're probably going to go much higher. But just to go back to the actual stock, SBSW, look at that, it's been following palladium. So very happy with this one. I think this one's going to run. So, and now, you know, with a small move up here, you can make a lot of money. So it's not worth as much as the seniors. Let's just say it's worth like half of the senior, but you know, in a couple of days, it could be worth a lot. So absolute breakout in this one. If it comes back down, I don't think there's much downside, and I think palladium's breakout is real, so I'm not too scared if a gap fill and goes to 4.4 and then the old low of 4. Yeah, you'd lose quite a bit there, but you just gotta take a position, zoom out, and say, I've bought, you know, I'm saying I've bought this zone. If we go to new lows, like Corona lows, I'll buy a little bit more because it's so close to this zone. But I just feel like this one could run to $8, $10, $8 actually. I can see $8, you know. So this one here, I'm looking for a bigger move. Look at that. Then it'd be worth a lot. So yeah, very, very good stuff. And I think we're in for a bigger move. Okay, that's it. Finally, long video. Very sorry about that. I will now cover the 3 little ones that my subscribers asked for. So Eldorado, that hit resistance 13.5, retested its old support, and now it's in the middle of the range. So it needs to really close above 13.6 before it can run to 14.5 on the way down. I'm going to readjust this. This is support here. And if it keeps going lower, the old descending line maybe gets a bit messy. There's quite a few support zones. This one's really been strong for a while. So I'm going to leave that like that. Hecla, this one here. It's a shame. Yeah, this remains resistance 5.2-ish. And then, well, once you close above 5.2, you got clear skies. So that's great. On the way down, I'm going to readjust this to, let's say here. I'll say 4.5 for support. After that, well, let's see what's happening. It's probably a bigger move. And finally, B2 gold. Not very strong. This ascending hasn't really been working either, which is strange. You'd expect it to. So for me, the old low of $3, let's call it $3, that will be support roughly here. If that loses, then this will definitely be support 2.8. But you really need to close above 3.5. Until that happens, the party is not on. Okay, that'll do. Sorry for the long video. And let's see what happens this week. But if we have a big move up, if we have just a slight move up, some of them could get going, some of the big boys, and they could help the others. So we could have some nice moves ahead of us. All right, good luck, guys.